Hey guys and girls, welcome to the channel. Alright, I just got a quick little something I'm going to show you. We've been working on the 350Z rear diff, and we're about ready to go drifting. Alright, this is where we're at with it. I still got a little bit left, but this is where we at. Well, we got the rear diff on the stand here. We still got to cut this piece off. We got the plate, I got the axles in, I got the everything there ready to go. I got to put the front flange on still. We got the old one out, so we're about ready to go in. So that's just a little quick something where we're at. We had to, it took a bolt out here. There was 2 bolts that actually bolt up in here, and that's the body of it. And then you had a vacuum plug it come across the top for your speed sensors, like 6 bolts I think in each axle. Then the exhaust, and 4 bolts in the drive shaft. And then we did let the sway bar down. We didn't actually have to take it out, but that's it. And we still got to put the bent lower control arm, or the trailing arm, back together. This is where we're at, guys. Alright, so we got the end cut off, got the 4 bolt flange on, so we ready to set the rear end in. We're ready to go in, and I'm gonna wait on the bushings because these bushings look new. I'm gonna run it without it and then change it later and see the difference. But I don't want to waste these good bushings. We'll just go ahead and run these, and if it's rear end, this being a welded diff, it's subject to break. Welded diffs can bust and break with what we're going to put them through. It's possible. So instead of shoving the bushings in and then breaking it and then having to take them right back out to put them in a different rear end, I'm probably just going to leave them out and run it like it is and see what it does, and then we'll see what we're going to do with it. All right, time to set it in. All right, rear end, it is in, axle's tight. Looks like we about ready. Got the arm in. I got to put both the bolt in the other side back there, and I'm gonna look at the motor mounts, and then put the exhaust on, top the fluids off. We're getting there. So this is what we got. Fits a little snug right there. I don't know that I like how close that is, but I didn't really look at the other one. They don't actually touch it. It is pretty close. Alright, so it's in. Alright. And with the rear end, the welded diff on the 350Z, I'm also going to run the Lucas, the heavy duty stuff. It's the 8090, a synthetic. It actually is supposed to be like some of the best stuff on the market. We're gonna give it a try. Everybody has their own thing that they like. They might like this better than that or whatever. And I really don't know what I prefer with this whole setup, but I've had some luck using this stuff. So this is what I'm gonna run. It may work, it may not, but for the first welded diff in a 350Z, we're gonna give it a shot and see what it does, just so you know what we're running. All right, so next on the list of the 350Z, we've got the rear end in, we've got the clutch straightened out as far as the slave and master cylinder. Now, I think we got a bad motor mount. We're gonna take a look at that, and we may end up replacing the motor mounts. I think we've got both brand new motor mounts for this car. So that's next on the list. All right, let's get to it. All right, so I got the cross member off. It was right through here, so I took it off. So I take the lower control arms loose, both sides. I had to take the power steering rack completely out. If you're doing this and you just got hand tools, just ratchets and stuff, this can be a job, because I've got air tools, and there's a lot of bolts. Now on the cross member, there was this thing right here. If I can zoom you in. All right, so this air conditioner line or transmission line, whatever it is, I think it's a power steering line, that's what it is. All right, so this line had two 10mm bolts in it, and they face down into the cross member, so there's barely any way to get into them until you almost drop the whole cross member. So I would suggest just leaving a couple of threads still at the top. Once you get it loose, just leave a couple of threads on each of the four corners and drop it enough to get to this piece, because this piece was a pain in the butt to get. So once you turn it loose, if you're by yourself, you've got the weight of the entire cross member with these two bolts still in, hooked to your power steering line. So yeah, well, that was a pain. But overall, it's not that bad, at least to this point. Like I say, I'm down to, I actually have to replace the mounts now. So this is the bottom of your mount right here. So you actually change your motor mounts from the bottom. What you run into, I think it was this side. Yeah, the top bolt is actually on top of, where it's on top of the mount, it's actually under the exhaust manifold. So it's kind of hard to get to. So that's what you got to look for. That's why these are such a pain, is where the top bolts are. So you got to keep that in mind too. Well, that's the next thing we're on. All right, so we got the new mounts changed. There's the new mount. The best tool I had, and this is, I suggest this, if you don't have this, you need to go out and buy this. If you're gonna change, if I can get it, a 350Z motor mounts, you need to get this. It's got the flex end. It does wonders, because what you can do is that actually goes up in there. If I can get you in here to see. So that you'll actually bend that down and go right in on top of that, because once you find that little bolt, right there is what you got. So when you're tightening and doing your wrench turning, if I can find my wrench in this camera here, there's the mount. All right, so this is what you have. You're literally right there back and forth. That's what you have to tighten and loosen. So that thing was a lifesaver. So that 14 with that flex on it, with that bendable end, if it wasn't for that thing, I'd have been in trouble. So just it kicks. It just has that bend in it to get right over the top of that, because you don't have any kind of room to make this thing work. So if you decide you're going to change your motor mounts on your 350Z, this thing is the answer to getting this job done. Everything else is just standard bolt sizes, 10s, not 10s, yeah, there was two 10s on top of the cross member, 14s, 17s, and 19s. You should have about everything. I think there might have been two 12s on the back of the power steering. There might have been 14s, but there was two here, smaller bolts, and then you had bigger bolts here. I think there were 17s or 19s. But everything's standard size as far as metric. But this 14 with the flex, if you're gonna do the 350Z motor mounts, you better have this laying in your toolbox or some kind of contraption, because this thing is what made this happen. Or I seen a guy, I think he said he had a short ratchet with a shallow socket. That would be the only other thing that would work to get in there. So if you don't have one of these, a short stubby socket and a short shallow 14mm socket would be the only way you're going to get in there. So because what you have is at the bottom of this, the mount is literally right underneath the exhaust manifold. You would have to take the exhaust manifold completely off to get to the top of it, other than trying to get it from this angle here. So if you do this job, if you're putting on some headers or something, that's a perfect time to do it. It would be super simple. You could actually climb under the car, spin the bottom bolt out, and the top will be right there. So if you were gonna do some headers or something, that would be a great time to do this. You could take that top plate off once you got the manifolds off or whatever, but if you're not removing the manifolds and you're wanting to change your motor mounts, this is the way to do it. So, all right, we got them done. Now we got to put everything back together. Yeah, we're getting this thing dialed in, so we're getting there. All right, stay with us on a 350Z drift build. All right, so I got the LSD welded up in the rear end. I made a mistake, it was my fault. On the automatics, there's that end that sticks off that you've got to cut. Well, when I cut it off, I put the nut for the pinion, I bolted it down when it was hot. So I put everything together, I've done the motor mounts in the front, everything's good there. Well, I test drove it, something's hitting in the floor. Well, it ended up being the pinion was loose. So I pulled the drive shaft loose, got in there, and the bolt, the whole piece was actually a little out. So I tightened it down, locked it in good, reattached everything, bolted everything back up, and oh yeah, it slides. Man, this thing slides all over the road. Yeah, so it's kind of dark out late. I don't want to be out here. Tires are bald, all kinds of excuses. But yeah, this, yeah, welded diff, 350Z. If you want to slide, yeah, oh yeah, it's gonna happen. You throw the weld to it and take off, it will absolutely slide. There's no problems with it at all. It absolutely will go sideways easy. But I gotta get some tires on it tomorrow, clean it up. All the suspension's on it, everything's bolted down. I think we're good. I'll go through it again tomorrow, give it a once over, and we'll see what we got. But this is what we're looking at right here. So this is the 350Z. Yeah, I smoked the clutch. It smells like clutch in here so bad. But I was just trying to see, you know, if it's a good solid clutch, if I'm looking at having to put one in it. But yeah, it held good. I put some pressure on it, brake torqued it kind of. It didn't slip on me, so it should be good. This thing, man, I'm telling you. Yeah, if you want to go drifting, you buy yourself a 350Z, weld the diff up on it, and I'm telling you on the spot, you're drifting. It's absolutely a night and day difference in this car. I drove it with the one wheel peel, but it's a different gear ratio too. I think it was like a 3.47 maybe, and I think the one I put in, it's like a 3.7. I'm pretty sure it's the way it was. But I welded this one up, got the rear diff cover on it, got everything bolted up, man, and this thing is a rocket. And I like to say, this isn't even the HR model, this 04. Yeah, man, this is absolutely a get it done type thing. Super simple, super easy. If you get one, it's pretty clean. You don't have to change motor mounts and all the stuff I've been through, and rear trailing arm. But the thing is, I got a deal on it. I mean, I got $2,500 in this car. And I don't know what all else it needs. I'm sure it's gonna need something at some point. It could probably use something. This thing's super quick, man. I'm pretty impressed. I've never had a 350, but yeah, man, yeah, if you wanna drift, this is the answer right here. It's the drift in the box. Weld the diff and you're rolling. So, all right, that's my take on a 350 drift car with the welded diff. First drive, yeah, this is a knock it out of the ballpark kind of deal. You definitely want to start right here if you don't know a lot about drifting and you just want something that you don't have to spend a ton on. Out of the box, this is a drift car, minus the welding, the diff. You can get an expensive diff, but yeah, driving it's not bad at all. I mean, didn't give me that much problem with the welded diff in it. So yeah, man, I would recommend do it, get it done, and get on the drift track. All right, thanks guys.